following talk with myself and Master Shi Heng Yi took place in the Buddha Hall at the Shaolin Temple Europe. We discuss Marcus Aurelius and his meditations. The Meditations are one of the most famous pieces of literature throughout history. It is the surviving diary of the last great emperor of Rome, a man who fought in the Marcomannic Wars. He fought sickness his whole life. He lost countless of his own friends, family in the Antonine Plague, and he outlived 8 of his own children. He is a man that faced great difficulties in life, but laid down the plans of how to be a good man and a good emperor. So in this talk, we discuss many themes, quotes, principles that were wrote down in this diary by Emperor Marcus Aurelius, and it was very interesting to hear the thoughts of Master Shi Heng Yi. I hope you enjoy. Also, my book, The Everyday Stoic, Simple Rules for a Good Life, is published with Penguin. It has been translated into 11 languages and there is an audiobook. I hope it helps you. I hope you enjoy it. Please leave a review. This episode was sponsored by Huel. Huel is a quick, affordable, nutritiously complete food with everything that your body needs. I hope you enjoy this rare talk on such a unique topic with Master Shi Heng Yi. So, we'll be talking about the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius. This book, Meditations, is actually a Latin translation of his thoughts. So it's not actually meditating, it's the emperor's thoughts. So this was his personal diary that he wrote when he was on the battlefield. And it was just his own thoughts to cope with what was going on. So it's mainly about death, desire, and anger, because these are the problems he faced. He faced a lot of death. He struggled with his own anger. And as being emperor, he could have had anything he wanted. So he tried to control his desires. How would you cut off desire? Or would you cut off desire?
Okay. So what comes up in my mind right now, so in general, I can hear he's emperor, meaning having a little bit the emphasis on ruling someone, ruling something, ruling a country, ruling a whole nation, ruling a whole tribe, being the emperor. That means the perspective or what you need to grasp, what you need to pay attention to, it is not only about yourself, it is beyond yourself. It is meaning you need to be able to watch every single detail that is happening, let's say, inside this kingdom or inside this country, let's say. And when I now think about the wording of desire, there is from Buddhist teachings, I think it comes. Desire is always like personal. It's always related to like one individual having a desire. But replacing desire by vision, the result at the end or the way how you are acting is the same. You are following upon something, you are putting things into action, but one of these actions is based upon personal desire, but the other type of why are you going into action is based upon a vision. And the difference between vision and desire is that vision, in my opinion also, is just able to grasp more people, let's say, inside of that vision. People involves a vision, involves more, desire involves one. And so when I put all of these things into place, emperor on the one side, desire on the other side, definitely desire is like individually driven and vision is incorporating more than just yourself. And if you want to be successful in building something up big, there is no other way, I think, than incorporating as much small details as your mind is able to grasp as an emperor.
So the Stoics had this concept of eudaimonia, which is like when your inner self is reached its potential, it's flourishing. It translates to human flourishing. So it's when you're at your best. And they believed it was achieved through living in accordance with nature and living in accordance with virtue. I'd like to know your thoughts of this, or if you think you know how to reach your full potential or your higher self.
We are in the 21st century right now. And again, you could say we're super free in expressing however you feel like, whatever you want to do. This is like one understanding about freedom. When then somebody tells you, no, you have to keep some guidelines. You need to have some virtues in your life. If you tell this to somebody nowadays who didn't understand it right, it feels like, hey, come on, I live in 21st century, I can do what I want. I don't need any virtues that are written there on paper. Why should I care about anything that like worked 500, 600 years ago? Yeah. Well, the point is like this. From my side, from our side, there is no development without restriction. There is no growth without restriction. I think we also covered it in one of our previous conversations before, that when you come here to the monastery, it's full of rules. It's full of structures, meaning that the structure of waking up times, eating times, training times, yeah, it's very, very well structured, meaning it is guiding you, who is placing his lifetime inside this monastery now. It's giving you a guideline where to walk and where not to walk, right? So meaning if at 8 o'clock is breakfast, well, you can't wake up at 9. I mean, you can, but then you miss the breakfast. So in the same way as I think for us also when it comes to virtue, how can you develop the highest potential of yourself? It's not just about by learning what you, it's not just by learning where to invest your energy in, but it's also by restricting yourself where to not let your energy go. Yeah? And so that means these virtues for me, when somebody is living, basing his life upon virtues, this is like setting the proper framework in order that inside this framework now, something can start developing. And it is similar like for us when we do our martial art practices, there are some positions, if you want to be strong in them, stable on the ground, you have to have you have to be taken care of a very specific structure. If you want to stay strong, it's not about you can do what you want. It's about no. If you want to achieve a certain outcome, it's necessary to plant the proper causes. Yeah? And this is where I understand, depending on what is the ideal potential in the Stoic philosophy, what is like the potential of human flourishing. But I can understand that in order for this to happen, in order for that flower, as human flowers, to grow, it needs the right framework. And this is what virtues do. Yeah. So, meaning also guiding your mind, guiding your behavior amongst these lines in order to shape the direction of what type of outcome you want to have. Yes, and this is why I also think that there are different nations or different cultures in the world. They have another ideal about what means human potential. Yeah? All cultures have their different ideas. How does it express itself when the human potential comes alive? And because it is so different, they also build up different frameworks in which the human is placed. So this for me, like in my understanding at least.
So the Stoics, they see in everyone as equal because you should be judged off of your character, not off your wealth or your fame or your achievements or your family. It's all based off of your character. And Marcus Aurelius obviously was emperor, but he tried to see everyone as equals, and he actually not just seen everyone as equals, he tried to see everyone as an extension of himself, so that you don't just treat each person like a stranger, you treat them as if you would treat yourself. You want to love and care for them, even your enemies. Do you think this is true, that everyone is equal?
Our skin color is different. The way how we dress is different. You live in a different location. You speak a different language than I do. I find a lot of things where we are, like, let's say, not the same, where we are not identical. But I also find something which absolutely is equal about us, which is not even related to that you are male, I am male, not even that. And for me, because I just mentioned it already, what is equal about us is that there is some consciousness, there is some spirit or soul being running through us, allowing me right now to experience this talk with you, and allowing you to experience this talk with me. So there is something that we share in common, the experience itself, the possibility that we are able to perceive, the ability that we are able to be conscious about things. Yeah? This is for me the same. And so that means, depending on which type of perspective Marcus Aurelius was like speaking about, physical wise, we're not the same. But integrating or trying to get an understanding for other people as well, yeah, I think absolutely makes sense, especially if you want to rule over them. Yeah, I can always only relate to the martial art. The reason why I can manipulate your body in the way how I would like is, first of all, because I know how I can be manipulated. Because I know the strength and the weakness of my body. And because I know you come from the same source. It maybe looks different, but you have also a body where the same principles of structure, alignment, free movement and blockage also applies to your body. So it's like I'm mirroring what I have learned about myself actually upon you. And in the way of my thinking, it is principle-based. Meaning it always works with every human, because it's principle-based, naturally based, coming from nature, coming from existence itself. So, and there's nothing beyond existence. There's nothing greater than the source where we all come from. Therefore, to integrate more people and expanding the view that they are actually an extension of yourself absolutely makes sense to me. As far as I have understood until now, I can't disagree.
Yeah, so there's also a similar topic to that called the circle of concern, where it's like circles that are expanding, and in the center is yourself, and then the outer circle would be your family, and then it gets broader and broader till it's the people of the world. And the Stoics believed in drawing that circle to your center. So you want, as much as you're concerned about yourself and the care that you put into yourself, then you want to bring that concern to your family, and you have that same concern for yourself and that same attention to yourself with your family. And then if you can keep broadening it out whilst also drawing them closer. I'd like to hear your thoughts on drawing that concern in, because I feel like in a way your concern is with the whole world.
Can you elaborate a bit, like this word concern? What exactly do you mean by that?
Where you place your emotional care, and yeah, where you're putting your care into, and your attention to. So you would pay attention to yourself and care to yourself to look after yourself,
Mhm.
and you would do the same with your friends and family. So having concern for the whole world is sort of having that same care and that self-love, but for people that you may never meet.
So that what you just expressed right now, that would be actually a goal, or let's say a principle that the Stoics say, or Mark Aurelius says, this is what you should develop, yes?
Yeah, it's a principle, yeah.
A principle. Good. Is there also a reason why? I mean, just out of curiosity, is there a reason why are you supposed to do it like this? What's the deeper thought behind it? So what's the outcome if you do so? What's the outcome if you don't do so?
Okay, so they believed in the cosmic universe or the cosmic nature. So they like to see the whole world as a community. So it's kind of like karma. If you put good out into your community, then you leave a better community that good will feed, like that good will go around the people that you care for. And then if you care for the whole world, then you put good out into the whole world. So the idea is that through virtue, being a good person and caring for the whole world, you're making the world a better place and you're helping other people live in accordance with their nature and their virtue, because they believe that a higher power or the universe gave us a nature that we live by. And if we follow this nature, then that's the best life we can live. There's less suffering, less, as they say, bad. So bad to them was injustice, cowardice, foolishness, and intemperance. So they seen that ultimately as the bad, and you want to get rid of bad, and you want to put good out into the world.
What I see behind this approach is what you're trying to do is either alignment. So what are you doing? Aligning the family with what you want to develop about yourself. Aligning the concern of yourself with the ones closer around you, and then expanding until you reach actually everyone. Meaning there is something about alignment. At the same time, what you're also doing is creating unity. Alignment. Unity. In a way, also balance. Balance between me and you, between us and the group, between the group and the bigger communities, between the bigger communities and the different fractions within a country, and then all the different fractions maybe with the complete country. So for me, what I see is the principle is alignment, unity, harmony, in order to also achieve what you mentioned at the end, yeah, a proper way of not wasting lifetime and living this life. So this is like my thought on it. And yeah, absolutely yes. Only the question is, ultimately, we have 24 hours a day. And so the question is, how much of the concern are you directing towards yourself, and how many hours of concern do you direct it towards your family, and how many of this are you directing towards other people? Because ultimately having concern is like the first step, but then maybe also putting things into action is the next part. And putting things into action means it's a question of lifetime investment, and this is what we humans don't have enough. So that is like where I would only see the only restriction. But if it's
In terms of how much time you would put to the concern, it's like you said, I think you summed it up perfectly with alignment. I think the goal is to kind of align your own personal pursuits and concerns to as your way of being. It's aligned with people 24/7. So the way you are is good for everyone. Marcus Aurelius actually said, "What is good for the bee is good for the beehive," and that's kind of the philosophy you have, that anything you're doing that you see as good, if it's not good for others, then it's not truly good because it's selfish. So I think alignment's probably the perfect word.
but this is also like then two directional already, exactly like you said it. Just because I think something is truly good, it doesn't mean it's good for you. So, but having the true capacity of maybe having a good intention and then also like putting it into practice and seeing, is it also really beneficial for you? And then figuring out that solution which is beneficial to you and beneficial to me, with the emphasis on harmony and well-being of the both of us, let's say, then I think it's good. But to push my goodwill on other people without really knowing if it is really good for the other person, I think no, this is not the way, first of all. And second of all, this is like the difficulty if sentences are being taken too much on a superficial level.
The themes we spoke about in this video, about this book, are themes that changed my life. I've read this book for over a decade. This is the one I had with me at the Shaolin Temple. It is falling apart. I've deciphered it, dissected it, incorporated it into my life for over a decade. And that led me to who I am now. And that led me to writing The Everyday Stoic, Simple Rules for a Good Life. Because most of these philosophies and histories and the books behind them are so academic, written by such educated people, that it seems unobtainable. But I learned the Stoicism and the Stoic practice from the original ancient texts. I incorporated them into my life when I was a building site labourer, earning less than minimum wage. I was in a very dark place. I felt very weak and scared and anxious all the time. I felt like my life was rubbish and the world was against me. And I kept incorporating these things into my life. And I became a person unrecognizable to my former self. Someone I'm happy with, I'm confident, I feel good about life. And this is in here, the steps, the practical steps to get to where I am now from that journey. So I hope it helps you. And if you've read it so far, please leave a review, as I'd love to know your thoughts. And as always, this episode was sponsored by Huel, which is a quick, affordable, nutritiously complete food with everything that your body needs. If you're interested in any Huel products, click the link in the description. Oh, and guys and girls, this book is currently #1 hot new release in Western philosophy. I'd love to get it in the top 100 overall best-selling books. I believe it's at like 5,000 right now. It keeps jumping up and down, but it's at 5,000th in the world. If I could get it in the top 100, that's not my book. Sorry, that's the Meditations. This is my book. This is the book. That's probably been #1 for many years. This is my book, and I'd love to get it in the top 100. So any way you can support me is very appreciated, and I hope you have a wonderful day.